The Hungerstrike of 1981 was one of the most pivotal moments of our generation. It not only foiled Britain's plans to criminalise the Republican struggle, but it also revitalised popular support in Ireland for that struggle. It focused worldwide attention on Ireland, and it saw many major demonstrations attended by thousands of people taking place in countries as diverse as the US, Portugal, Australia and Iran. The events surrounding the prison protests, which culminated in the deaths of 10 Republican volunteers in the H blocks of Cash, began in 1975 when the British political and military establishment agreed upon and initiated a three-pronged strategy aimed at defeating the Irish Republican struggle. That far-reaching triple British strategy of ulsterisation, criminalisation and normalisation was the catalyst that led to that struggle in the jail. Under that strategy, it was Britain's intention that its military presence in the 6 counties would be slowly but increasingly replaced by members of locally recruited forces. In order to counteract the growing international perception of the conflict in Ireland as a colonial war, the Irish liberation struggle was to be portrayed and treated as a localised campaign against criminal gangs, and the political motivation and the political element of the liberation struggle was to be ignored. The third element of Britain's strategy envisaged the destruction of popular support for armed resistance and the eventual establishment of a puppet administration at Stormont. That triple strategy of ulsterisation, criminalisation and normalisation has continued to form the basis of all British policy in Ireland since 1975 right down to the present day. As a result of the prison struggle in both the H blocks and Armagh prison, and the hunger strikes of 1980 and 1981, criminalisation became and still remains the most apparent and the most recognisable aspect of that threefold British strategy. Britain decreed that as of the 1st of March 1976, any person sentenced for a politically motivated offence would no longer be afforded the rights of a political prisoner, rights that were previously won after a hunger strike in 1972 by other Republican prisoners led by Billy McKee. Instead, Republicans were to be treated as criminals. After the 1st of March, and even though they had been arrested using special laws, held in special interrogation centres, charged under special so-called anti-terror legislation, and sentenced to special non-jury courts, Republican prisoners were not to be granted any form of special category status. For Republicans, this new policy would mean wearing a prison uniform, doing prison work, and having major restrictions placed on the amount of free association they would have with their comrades inside. The prisons were to become the breakers' yard, where both the prisoners and the wider Republican struggle would be depoliticised and isolated. The first prisoner who was sentenced after the cut-off date of March the 1st was 19-year-old Kieran Nugent. He refused to don the prison uniform. Left with only a blanket to wear, the blanket protest began, which was later to escalate into a dirty protest lasting for several years. Several hundred prisoners on those protests were kept in extreme, inhumane conditions in their prison cells for 24 hours a day. They were subjected to beatings and brutal forced body searches, which can only be described as torture. But those same prisoners used their ingenuity to communicate with each other and to communicate with the world outside, and they developed a policy of resistance and a strategy to advance their aims. The prisoners' campaign, both inside and outside the jail, centred around 5 basic demands: the right not to wear a prison uniform, the right not to do prison work, the right of free association with other prisoners, the right to organise their own educational and recreational facilities, and the right to one visit, one letter and one parcel a week. After years of existing in conditions which the then Premier of All Ireland Thomas O'Fee described as being similar to the slums of Calcutta, the prisoners decided in 1980 that their protest had to be intensified even further. It was their collective view that the only way to resolve the issue inside the jails was through the use of that age-old Irish weapon of last resort, the hunger strike. The first hunger strike undertaken by 7 Republican volunteers, led by the late Breandán began on October the 27th, 1980. They were later joined by 3 women volunteers in Armagh Jail, led by their OC, Maria Farrell. The British government later reneged on the promises which they had made and which ended the first hunger strike. And that left the prisoners with no choice but to commence the second hunger strike in 1981. Bobby Sands began his fast to the death on the 1st of March 1981, exactly 5 years to the date when the British government had withdrawn political status. Bobby died on May the 5th. It was estimated that somewhere between 150 and 200,000 people had attended his funeral in Belfast. Francis Hughes died on May the 12th. David Greash, Patsy O'Hara, both died on May the 21st. Joe MacDonald died on July the 8th, followed by Martin Harrison on July the 13th. Kevin Lynch died on August the 1st, and Kieran Doherty died the next day. Todd McElwee, a cousin of Francis, died on the 8th of August. And finally, Michael Devine died on August the 20th. In October 1981, the prisoners themselves ended the hunger strike. And just over a year and a half later, all the demands that they had set out to achieve had been secured. There are people present here today who were close comrades of those who died. There are others here present who campaigned long and hard on the outside in support of the prisoners. Like me, I'm sure that they can only too well recall those days and those years from 1976 right through to 1981. There were days and months and years which were both dispiriting and uplifting at the same time. When looking back to that period of the prison struggle and the hunger strike, it is often forgotten, and indeed in some cases is deliberately overlooked, that the British strategy of Ulsterisation, criminalisation and normalisation came very close to defeating the Republican struggle on the outside. The conveyor belt of criminalisation saw hundreds of Republican activists dragged off to Golf Barracks in Castlereagh, where they were tortured by current forces. They were charged and then sentenced, often without evidence, in diplock courts before being carted off again to the H-blocks, McGilligan or Armagh jails. Many Republican structures right across the 6 counties were completely decimated by those losses. Faced with the loss of so many personnel and a proactive and effective British propaganda campaign in which the so-called peace people, constitutional nationalist politicians and indeed the Catholic Church all played a part,